Well, good afternoon. My name's Nathan Stelter, president here at the Stelter Company. Thanks as always for joining us for our webinar today. I'm going to get to introductions, which I'm very excited to in just a couple minutes, but did want to say a little bit about the series, which I think most of you are familiar with. But Stelter, as a trusted leader in asset-based giving, is passionate about supporting nonprofits with fresh ideas and practical guidance. We're proud to help build connections across the sector and are pleased to offer a series of free webinars bringing you experts like Delinda and Karen today to help unlock new revenue throughout your development portfolio. Today's webinar is actually our last of our regularly scheduled webinars for 2025 as we prepare for the national conference. And a little plug for the National Plan Giving Conference in Indianapolis in just about a month. So if you've missed any of our webinars this year or last, you can find those recordings as you see on your screen at stelter.com/webinars. And we will also post this one there after we're concluded today. If you are a Stelter client, we do have a special webinar that we've added on the schedule in a couple weeks here, September 30th, where myself, our senior consultant, Lynn Gomer, and one of our editorial colleagues, Kevin Cox, are going to be digging into the Big Beautiful Bill and what this does or doesn't mean to your programs and your outreach. So do keep an eye out for an invite in your inbox later today. So back to today's webinar. Again, a pleasure of introducing Karen Peel and Delinda Rood, both from Mayo Clinic up in lovely Rochester, Minnesota. Karen, as you see on your screen, is the gift planning director at the Mayo Clinic. In this role, she helps people achieve their philanthropic goals by identifying strategic, creative, and tax-advantaged solutions. Karen began her career as an estate planning attorney in private practice. In 2006, she transitioned to a career in charitable giving, working with Marshfield Clinic Health System Foundation in Marshfield, Wisconsin, before joining Mayo Clinic 3 or so years ago. She's a faculty member with AHP's Madison Institute for 11 years, an awesome institute and organization where she shared her knowledge of plan giving with colleagues throughout the US and Canada. Karen received a Bachelor of Business Administration, Accounting, and Law from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Go Badgers. Next up, Delinda Rood, Gift Planning Associate Director at Mayo Clinic. Like Karen, Delinda helps people achieve their philanthropic goals by identifying strategic, creative, and tax-advantaged gift solutions, offering gift expertise in such areas as bequests, beneficiary designations, charitable gift annuities, charitable mandate trust, donor advised funds, charitable IRA rollovers, and gifting real estate. Delinda has actually worked as a professional fundraiser for more than 30 years, with the majority of that time spent in higher education, a little different than healthcare. But for much of her career, she worked in athletics fundraising at various institutions, including North Dakota State, University of Nebraska-Lincoln, Northwestern in Evanston, and University of Minnesota. Most recently, Delinda worked at Thrive and Charitable as a charitable gift planner, assisting benefactors, faith-based organizations, and financial advisors with various giving options. Delinda is actually has a bachelor's degree from Concordia in Moorhead and earned her master's of education degree at the University of Minnesota. I am very excited to introduce these two and bring this talk to you today. You may have seen it in the past. I know they've been on the CGP circuit the last couple of years, but we're excited to bring it to everybody today. It's all yours.
Thank you so much, Nathan and Jen, for having Karen and I. We're just absolutely thrilled to bring this webinar again to Stelter and to your clients. So we'll start it off today. It's amazing, I would say, how pop culture can impact our everyday world. And I wonder, when you read the title of our session, how many of you went to the TV show Friends? If you aren't familiar with the series, there is an iconic scene of 3 of the characters moving a couch up a flight of stairs, and one character continues to yell, "P.I.V.O.T." In that episode, much like in plan giving, no matter how many times you yell the word pivot, sometimes your best laid out plan just doesn't work. A lesson we have learned many times over during our careers. We welcome you today to Pivot, P-I-V-O-T, to turn plan gifts into gift inquiries into plan gifts. Karen and I have varying backgrounds, as you heard from Nathan, in fundraising, with many years of experience in differing fields that led us both to the honor of working for Mayo Clinic. We are happy to have all of you attending. And again, thanks to Jen and Nathan and our friends at Stelter for allowing us to bring this presentation from its origin at the CGP National Conference in 2023. As Jen mentioned earlier, there will be an opportunity for questions via the Q&A function. So we encourage you to use that Q&A function to engage with your specific comments. Today's agenda, we will discuss types of planned gift inquiries our organizations receive, how we typically respond, and some assumptions we make in that impact our success. We will share the approach of P.I.V.O.T, plan, invite, verify, offer, and transform to turn additional planned gift inquiries into actual planned gifts. To start off today, we thought it might be helpful to provide you with some information on how our office is set up at Mayo Clinic. Please know that we understand that many institutions, one individual may be wearing several hats. Karen and I have both sat in those positions at other organizations. So although we may have additional colleagues to help aid in our work, the process we will share today should be transferable for any organization despite its size. Mayo Clinic Office of Gift Planning is basically set up into 3 areas: operations, gift administration, and gift planning. We're fortunate that we cross-pollinate with our teams instead of what might look like silos, are actually a good amount of collaboration. Our operations team focuses on marketing efforts, working with our partner Stelter, and in additional items, our legacy society, stewarding and cultivating of those that already made an estate commitment, and providing the many resources and tools we need as gift planners. Our gift administration team is in the details of the many contracts, tax filings, estate reconciliation, gift agreements, etc. Then finally, the gift planning team, who fundraises, manages smaller portfolios of their own, but also works on consulting with our development officers, major gift officers, and principal gift officers around the country. We work hand in hand in those frontline fundraisers to best find the charitable options for their benefactors in their portfolios. And the final piece of our work is education, providing additional information to our gift officers that equip them to start the conversations of planned gifts. So how does all of this come together? Well, it simply starts with an inquiry. Karen?
Thank you, Delinda, for getting us started today. And I'm going to take a moment and do a little disclaimer here. You will hear Delinda and I use the word benefactor. It's just a Mayo term that we use for donor, partly because working in healthcare, donor can mean donating blood. It can mean donating your body or other things for research purposes. So Mayo uses the term benefactor. So please know when we use that term, we're using that just out of habit. But of course, please translate that to the word donor if that's what you use. So to have a successful planned gift program, our organizations need people to raise their hands and express their interest in the planned gift opportunities that we offer. How wonderful is it when we send a carefully crafted marketing message to an individual that our data shows looks like a great prospect for a planned gift, and we actually receive a positive response to that marketing piece. Our marketing efforts are designed to invite people to do things like return a reply device to learn how they could include a gift to our organizations in their estate plan, or maybe to send us an email to request a personalized gift annuity illustration. Perhaps we also invite them to visit our website to read more about ways to give from an IRA, for example. Or we also invite them to give us a call to inquire about a gift, such as a donation of real estate. We also are so grateful in our organizations when we get some just surprise inquiries from out of the blue. So maybe it's from a benefactor whom we had not even sent a marketing piece to, or it's someone that's not even in the donor database at all. Or it may be a professional advisor who is reaching out on behalf of their client. Or another category is our own colleagues, our fundraising colleagues who reach out to us as the gift planning experts to ask about how to work with one of their benefactors who has expressed an interest in a planned gift. Though we want and need all of these types of inquiries to advance the mission of our organizations, often these inquiries come at our most busiest times when we are on our own trying to manage our work of working with benefactors. Our inbox is overflowing with emails we need to respond to. Maybe we're out of the office attending the CGP or other conferences, or even trying to just have some PTO and a little downtime. So when those inquiries come, we want to respond. We want to get information out and connect. So perhaps what we do is quickly fire off an email response to that inquiry, or we have a pre-planned package of information that can be mailed out to somebody who sends back a reply card. Or we might just, again, maybe it's a simple quick phone call when somebody says, hey, what's your tax ID number for Mayo Clinic? Or what's the minimum amount of your gift annuities that you'll accept? So we do those quick interactions, but do those inquiries actually convert to a confirmed future gift to our organization? Delinda and I have both experienced this phenomenon of plan gift inquiries that seem so promising, so positive, kind of going nowhere. So we recognize not every inquiry will turn into a planned gift, but however, is there some action we could take, something we could be doing that would move more of these inquiries forward? Delinda?
Thanks, Karen. So there are a variety of reasons that the planned gift inquiry may not have turned into a completed gift. Your actions play a role, though some inquiries will not lead to a completed gift regardless of your response. It's easier to become reactionary to an inquiry, and our assumptions become forefront of leading a conversation. Don't get me wrong, we want to make sure that we are providing the information in which the individual is asking. It's a balancing act for sure to make sure that we are really getting to the root of what is it that they are asking. Identifying and recognizing the assumptions we are making will help in our approach to the prospect. So we assume the benefactor is ready to make a gift. The planned gift inquiry was intended to acquire information. We get excited when we receive those out of the blue, as Karen mentioned. What's your tax ID number? I'm working with my estate attorney and need your organization's legal name and address. Wonderful, I'm happy to help you, and here is the info. Rare occasion, that actually results in a planned gift. An inquiry gathering of information about a planned gift may indicate your marketing efforts sparked the individual's curiosity. Your response will have hopefully provided the education they need to consider how the gift aligns with their personal, charitable, estate, financial, and/or tax goals. The conversation shouldn't be over at that point. We assume the information shared is understood. Speaking about planned gift vehicles is second nature to those who work with planned gifts. How many different acronyms do you all have that we talk about as second nature? In this world of remote work, I happened to be working at a home office while visiting my sister. After the phone conversation was completed, my sister said, "You sounded like you were speaking in a different language. What was all of that?" We can get caught in the world of alphabet soup. We have to hear things more than once to understand a concept. My sister's comment to me made me really pause and think about my approach of assuming the benefactor on the other end of the phone call understood what I was saying. I'm glad that she called me out, as big sisters do, because it did create an additional opportunity as I followed up with an email and another phone call. Remember that when we respond to planned gift inquiries, we are sharing information with individuals who may be hearing those terms or reading the descriptions for the first time, with the assumption the information shared on the technicality of the gift doesn't meet their inquiry. It may create confusion and a lack of trust. In these situations, the individual may no longer consider a gift to your organization out of frustration and just not understanding. We also assume our mission and vision aligns with the prospects because they approached us. I mean, they must really like us because they called me. Not necessarily. we talk a lot about the reason behind why the benefactor is making a gift to our organization. The planned gift vehicles offered by your organization are likely the same as those offered by other organizations your benefactors support. Sharing information about planned gift vehicles to help individuals move forward with a gift is an essential role you fill for your organization. But sharing information about your mission and vision is equally as important. The last assumption is that we put the ball in their court and think they will reach out to us with questions. We provide them with the information they have requested, and unless we take action to allow us the opportunity to follow up, asking those open-ended questions, building that relationship, connecting to the mission, we could be sitting for a very long time waiting for them to reach out again for clarification. Your follow-up is necessary to advance that gift discussion until they say no thank you, or please stop contacting me, or I'm no longer interested, our circumstances have changed. Keep reaching out. But Karen, how? I mean, I guess I don't know, maybe we P.I.V.O.T, pivot?
Well, that sounds great to me, Delinda. So I think what I hear when I hear Delinda describe all those assumptions we make is that so often we treat that inquiry as though like it's the shopping cart and it's time to check out, that the benefactor has chosen a gift vehicle, they just needed a little bit of something from us, and they're ready to close that gift. So maybe it is time for a new approach. So this approach we're about to discuss is truly, it's a mental shift. It's a shift from the way we were doing our work in the past, from responding to engaging. It's also a mental shift in the moment. We were talking about just being busy. I mentioned, these inquiries come when we have so many other things on our plate. I have found that when I'm reaching out to follow up on an inquiry, it is important to do that mental shift in that moment to truly say, my focus 100% is responding to this benefactor at this time. So what we're talking about today does take considerable discipline. As I said, when we're busy, it can be so difficult to find the time to engage. We get it. Sometimes we are in the position when we just respond. It happens. It's okay. This isn't about changing our behavior 100% overnight. It's about recognizing that there is a better way to do this. We have found it. We're going to share some success stories today with you to show that we truly feel that when you change your approach, when you pivot, plan, invite, verify, offer, you will transform those inquiries more often into planned gifts. So now we're going to go through this step by step. But before we do, I just want to take a few moments on this slide. What we're talking about today, we just want to clarify, this is not really new information for you, but it's probably information that, like Delinda and I said, we just needed to recognize that we approach our work this way in many other circumstances. But we found that these planned gift inquiries that seemed like a gift ready to close actually needed to be treated differently. And what it comes down to, again, are things we should be doing in every interaction that we have with our benefactors, building a relationship. And how do you do that? You need to open that door for engagement, not just emailing, not just mailing things off, but truly engaging. You need to ask questions. We need to ask a lot of questions to really make sure we understand, make sure the benefactor understands. And then as the last kind of piece of this, if you will, is to keep that going, keep re-engaging. One interaction is not about building a relationship. Multiple interactions over time is how you build that relationship. So let's talk about the steps. So I think, yeah, thanks, Delinda. So the first step, plan. So a couple of things here. You're seeing some questions on the slide, but I'll just throw out a couple of things that I want you to consider. First of them, in an overall planning perspective, thinking about who is responding to these inquiries. Delinda shared our structure. Your structure, of course, is different at your organization, but as a large organization, most of those inquiries are coming into either our operations team in the Office of Gift Planning, who are receiving all of the marketing responses, but those random phone calls, emails, some of those other inquiries, they could be going to others in our organization who may not be well versed in how to respond. So thinking about where inquiries are coming in, and then what opportunity do you have to engage with those individuals who might be receiving those inquiries and explain to them the importance of how they respond? And I would argue, hopefully they're directing those inquiries to you in your role uh, as a gift planning role, however it is, however it works in your organization, but to give some thought to that of who needs some information on how to respond. Some of the other things to think about regarding a specific interaction is spending time planning to respond to that specific inquiry. Is this a person in our database? Could we do some research ahead of time and learn about them from what we do know about them before picking up the phone and giving them a call? Does that information we have glean anything about their level of a knowledge of planned gifts? So for example, is this a person who's never done a gift annuity, or is this their fourth gift annuity with our organization? That might change how we interact with them and in the response, in the engagement we have with them. As you become more seasoned in the gift planning role, you may not necessarily need to write out a list of questions you have, but certainly when you're getting started, but I even do it sometimes just to remind myself, here are the things I need to get from this phone call with this individual to be able to help move them to the next step. So in the moment, taking that pause before picking up the phone or sending the email and saying, what is it that I need to learn from this individual? And then Delinda mentioned, we assume people are going to call us back when we engage with them. They'll eventually re-engage with us. But think about how you're going to follow up. I'll share with you that we do a lot of pending interactions. We use our CRM to reach out to someone and then schedule a follow-up. So I encourage you to think about that as well. What do you want your protocol to be for responding? So here's an example of some of that planning and why it matters before we reach out to someone. I did have a situation not long ago where a gentleman he was an annual giver, had been receiving our marketing pieces for several years. And this was his first time response. He actually responded to a marketing piece that was about gift annuities. And I thought, oh, great, we're going to talk about gift annuities. So got him on the phone, already prepared to talk about a gift annuity. And what I found out is his question was not actually about gift annuities. It was about charitable remainder trust. He just chose to respond to that particular mailing because it was on his mind that he wanted to engage. So he responded, but it was on a different topic. So before I really started answering his questions about charitable remainder trust, I also had to pause and find out, what did he know about charitable remainder trust? So I use this as an example. Was he unaware? Did he have any idea what a charitable remainder trust was? Frankly, for that matter, did he have any idea what a gift annuity was or is? Was he misinformed? So was he asking about a charitable remainder trust because he thought it was the same thing as a charitable gift annuity? Did he know? Was he curious? Maybe his professional advisor had said, you might want to consider a charitable remainder trust. Or was he educated? Well, in my case, it turned out he was educated. This was somebody who had a charitable remainder trust with another organization. When he received the mailing about the charitable gift annuity, he took that opportunity to send in a reply, and he truly did want to talk about a charitable remainder trust. Now, imagine if our typical approach had been, here was an inquiry about a charitable gift annuity. What we do first is we send our charitable gift annuity brochure. If that is our typical response when we're busy, to send a charitable gift annuity brochure and say, my name is Karen Peel, I'd be happy to assist you. If you'd like an illustration, let me know. I would have been completely on the wrong track with this benefactor. However, by thinking some of that through ahead of time, and of course, by having some experience where I could truly pivot in the moment to the gift conversation that we needed to have. But I put this out there to have you start to think about, where is your benefactor? Where the person making the inquiry, where are they possibly on this wheel? So next slide, Delinda, if you would. I'm going to share a success story. And like I said, we're going to be sharing these as we do each step in the process. So as I mentioned, who from your organization is responding? So we've had some great success with talking to those individuals who might be that first point of contact for the individual making a phone call to Mayo Clinic. And we've had some wonderful stories. I'm not going to share a specific story right now. Our other stories will be, but we've had some wonderful experiences with our colleagues recognizing there is more here than they should or could respond to. Now, if somebody has called in and said, I just need your tax ID number, they know that information. They could provide it. Or I need your legal name and address of where to send a future estate gift. Again, they know that information. But what they also know now is there's so much more to the story. And we share back with them those successes that happen when they pass somebody who's making an inquiry onto us. We go back and tell them after the fact, thank you so much for sending them my way. It turned out there's a wonderful story here of why this individual called us. There's a wonderful opportunity to explore some gift opportunities with them. Thank you so much for sending them to me. So with that, Delinda, oh, I have the next one, don't I? I'm sorry. Wow, I get so excited. And this is even my favorite step, invite. After we plan, we're ready to reach out to that individual who has made an inquiry, and we actually get to invite them to have a conversation. So as I mentioned, we're busy. So find the right time for you. Make sure you're not trying to, I'm going to rush a 5-minute phone call before I have to be on a webinar today, or I'm going to call them at 4:50 when I want to be out the door at 5 o'clock. Make time. Make sure you have time. And the goal here is, again, move beyond the transaction. Start building the relationship. Use the opportunity to engage with them on a personal level. Get to know them. Don't just jump immediately to the planned gift conversation. As Delinda mentioned, talk about mission of your organization. Talk about the impact they'd like to have with a gift. Do those things and really, again, start to build that relationship. As I mentioned, we also can think of our roles as in building relationships to just be an opportunity to offer to be a resource, to offer, to be someone who knows what they may need from us, but again, start building the trust. So I'm going to do a quick success story here on inviting, and it's a very recent one. I actually just met with this gentleman on Monday this week. So what happened was he actually walked into one of our offices. He was on campus for an appointment, and he just needed the language to include Mayo as a beneficiary on his IRA. The individual who engaged with him initially had a nice conversation, did provide the information he needed so that he could go forward with the beneficiary designation. So did provide the customer service that was needed in the moment, but took that time to learn some more and learned that he had some real estate, learned he was an only child and didn't have heirs of his own, and suggested there might be an opportunity to meet with someone from our team. So then it was my turn to invite him to a conversation, and he accepted. And we just, as I said, I just met him on Monday. We had a great discussion. We'll see where we go with the next steps. But my goal in that initial meeting, number one, I invited him to the meeting. He accepted. We're starting to get to the next phase, and hopefully we will get to that next phase, which I now am turning it over to Delinda to talk about the next part of P.I.V.O.T.
Thanks, Karen. So we have P planned our response, as Karen talked about. We have I invited them to the conversation, and now we have them primed and they're ready to gain a lot of information concerning the benefactor's interest. So the V in our process allows us the opportunity to verify their understanding of the concept in which we are providing or they are inquiring about. You can ask questions to gauge their level of understanding of the gift vehicle and be ready to share information that is appropriate for the circumstance at hand. Very much similar to what Karen was talking about, the difference between a CGA and a CRT with the benefactor she was talking to. So some of those questions, such as the who, what, when, and why, even though you are in the weeds of narrowing down that gift vehicle, it's important to remember your goal as a plan giving professional. I'll steal a quote because we've talked about this, but I'm going to steal a quote from another one of our colleagues that we work with, and she will oftentimes say, keep the mission before the mechanics. Each of you as fundraisers are doing your jobs because you believe in your mission. You see the impact and the importance of the work that you are doing in every conversation that you have. It's authentic, it comes across to the benefactors, and because of that belief, it brings, again, an authenticity to the important work that you are doing. Just because it's an estate gift, and oftentimes the funds aren't coming to you immediately, does not mean that you have to solely focus on the transaction of the giving vehicle. It's important to say, it's important, yes, that we educate and for the prospect to have great understanding of the gift vehicle, but it's equally important to understand the why behind the gift. Verifying their understanding of the gift vehicle while keeping the mission and the why behind the mechanics will enhance and spark additional conversation. My turn for a little success story, but I'm not going to quite give you the result yet. So recently, I had one of our principal gift officers ask for $1 million CGA illustration. So Mayo has a process that a development officer will complete a form, request a CGA illustration from Plan Giving. Having worked closely with this particular gift officer in the past, I leaned in on her relationship with the benefactor, that her request was in line with the benefactor's interest, as well as his affinity to support the organization. I had put a note on my calendar, as I often do, to follow up with the gift officer. When I did that, she said that she had actually just received another request from the prospect to ask about a deferred and an immediate CGA illustrations for half of the original amount. So once again, I ran the illustration, sent it her way. She came back then and asked for another illustration. And although now asked for an additional information with other requests that would have put truly a small mountain of papers in front of the prospect to review. I finally took that pause. I should have done it. Karen talked about that earlier. This is a mental change. This is a behavior. And so I took that pause. And if I would have done previously, I asked her if we could just connect, just concern this specific case. So we want to respect the relationship that the principal gift officer has and assist them with the right tools to close a gift while keeping that mission at the forefront. However, in this case, I knew that too many papers, too many illustrations may not be getting to the root of the issue of what the benefactor was trying to accomplish with his philanthropy. I was being too reactionary to the PGO's request. And so again, I needed to change my habit to move to the relational side of my job to gather that information. After meeting the PGO, I better understood the benefactor situation, where the PGO is at with the prospect in her cultivation and solicitation, and was able to pivot the conversation to provide the information she needed for her next conversation. As Karen explained, as we move through our steps, we realized that asking those verifying questions of why we were looking at this giving vehicle provided some beneficial information that allowed us to approach the benefactor and together ask him to meet. So what was the end result? Well, before I get to that, I do want to continue on in our pivot process. So we've had the P planned, I invite, V verify. Now we're on to O. The next step is probably what I believe is the most critical in timing. Once we place an idea out there, it's possible that prospect will latch onto that and only focus on that information. I will oftentimes state to the prospect, please note, although this concept is one of many opportunities, please don't feel that we can explore other options and blend your generosity into more than one giving vehicle. When we open that door to offer a gift vehicle to meet their immediate needs, it does enhance the connection we have established for additional conversations. Too many times as planned giving officers, we provide solutions too quickly. We forget the motivation behind the why. The gift is being made in the way that it is being made. As professionals in this field, you will know how far to go with that information and how much you should provide. You can read the situation and the person you're working with to open the door of engagement to find out what gift vehicle meets their needs. In the end, it will better align to meet their overall charitable goals. When we offer the open-ended solutions, the time spent planning, inviting, and verifying puts you on the path to closing more planned gifts or additional gifts for that prospect. As I mentioned earlier, the benefactor and the inquiry of $1 million CGA illustration and several varying options with deferred, flexible, stock options, cash options had us all over the board. What he was really trying to accomplish, and that I didn't share earlier, is that this particular prospect has a background in wealth management. Key thing to note here, he is very detailed, numbers-oriented person, and so it was information that I didn't have before when I received the first request. Hearing about his background and his work, I sat and was trying to figure out why would he want additional income when he didn't seem to need it? Making an assumption. In addition, he had disclosed other assets during this conversation: tangible personal property, artwork, home, highly appreciated stocks, retirement accounts, so on. He just didn't fit the mold of a CGA prospect. But the most valuable information that I received when we offered to walk him through our process was that he was very concerned for his wife having enough income if something were to happen to him, and that in his retirement, there was going to be a significant tax event with his former company. In his meticulous planning, his biggest concern was his wife and that taxable event. When he made that comment, it allowed us the opportunity to focus on the relationship using the CGA as a tool for the gift vehicle. But it didn't stop there in our offer. When he willingly shared about his other assets and provided that knowledge, it opened a door for further discussion concerning DAFs, IRA accounts, beneficiary proceeds, real estate, a second home he had, and then again, that tangible personal property, so that his wife didn't have to deal with any of that if he passes away before she does. He welcomed the information of options for additional giving vehicles that could be discussed down the line. We ended up closing a $500,000 CGA gift with this particular benefactor. But the bigger thing is that he is committed to discussing those other options that we provided for him and offered. Ultimately, when it was all said and done, it will benefit Mayo Clinic with an estimated 7-figure estate gift. Karen?
Well, thank you, Delinda. You know, as you were speaking, I was thinking about how these inquiries, what happened is we skipped the P, the I, and the V. We went right to the O, and the O looks an awful lot like a zero, like $0 came into our organization because we jumped to that offer a little too quick. So again, P, plan, I, invite, V, verify, O, offer. And then truly, what a wonderful outcome if we get to the T, the transform. The transform is thinking of it as the end of the process, but really I think of it as just a continuum. If we have done our job well, the gifts that should turn into gifts for our organization do. But along the way, so much more has happened. Our jobs can feel very transactional at times. And to have the opportunity for true human relationship building, engagement with people, we get to meet some of the most interesting and fascinating people, individuals with stories that are just so engaging, so wonderful to hear. So in this process of inviting and verifying and offering all of that relationship building that we would have missed if we would have just responded to that initial inquiry with sending the tax ID number or whatever it may have been they asked for. We learned so much in the process. We also attitude of gratitude. I mean, come on, like that is so fulfilling for everyone. It's for us to approach their support with an attitude of gratitude, to be able to express that to them. Even the fact that they looked into a gift is something to be grateful for. It may not have been the right gift. It may not have been the right time. It may not be our organization in the end that they wish to support, but we're grateful for all those chances we have to engage with people and truly do some of that relationship building. As Delinda mentioned, early on, like we get this chance to share the mission. We can't assume that they know what our organization is all about, and to learn the areas of impact they wish to support. It's, again, fascinating, all the different things that are meaningful to people, and we can help them achieve that. One of the things that, of course, the asking to document, I never use that word with people, but, the idea of them sharing their gift intentions is, think of it as sort of the end game, but really the end game is we want them to have had a good experience. This might have been the first time they've ever engaged with a fundraising department at any organization. And we want people to feel like that is a safe space for them. It's a place where they can find people who can provide information that meets their needs. It's a place where we listen. It's a place where, again, we can offer much more to them than just our tax ID number and legal name and other things like that. So if you treat people well in this process, the results are going to come. So Mayo Clinic's primary value is the needs of the patient come first. So we think of it as the needs of the benefactor come first. So I encourage you to do the same. Make sure that they're feeling joy, and in return, you'll feel that joy as well. So with that, I'm going to share one more success story, and then we'll get to the Q&A. This is one of my favorite stories. It is a couple years old, but it actually has a recent development. But I was speaking with a gentleman. He and his wife had previously shared a gift intention with us, but without a lot of specifics. So they had asked for something. I can't even remember the initial inquiry, but it led us down a path of having a conversation about this future estate gift. It turned out they had it as an unrestricted gift. That's great. Our organizations love unrestricted gifts. However, I also look for the opportunity to see if there is something that would be more meaningful. So I got to learn about this couple, get to know them. We had some great interactions. And I learned there was an area of passion, and it was actually education. So we talked about changing their gift designation from unrestricted to a designation that truly was meaningful for them, and got that completed. The success part initially was a few weeks later, the husband reached out to me and he said, Karen, I used to volunteer at Mayo Clinic and I stopped when the pandemic hit and I never came back. But after re-engaging with you, after remembering why this organization is so important to me, I wanted to let you know I contacted the volunteer office and I'm coming back as a volunteer. That to me was just such a wonderful story, a wonderful success. So as I mentioned, there was a more recent update. Because he knew me, because we had developed this relationship, just a couple of months ago, he reached out to me and he said, Karen, I need to talk to you. And he called me to let me know his wife had been diagnosed with cancer, a very scary time. And he had questions about navigating things with Mayo Clinic. And so I helped him through that. It had nothing to do with his charitable gift. It was just that I had established myself as a trusted individual for him. He reached out again after her first appointment and he said, I feel so relieved. We had a great meeting with the doctor. We've got a care plan in place. And it, again, to feel like you've become part of someone's inner circle, that they care to share that information with you, is such an amazing place, such a place of honor that we hold. So when we do this work, when we pivot, when we open ourselves up to meet great individuals, hear their stories, help them how we can with their achieving their philanthropic goals. Like I said, it's a win-win. It really makes our jobs something we want to come to every day. So we hope that happens for you as well. With that, Delinda, what do you think? Ready for some questions?
I think so. I can't access the questions. I'm
Yep.
having trouble getting to it. So Jen, okay.
Yeah, I'm here with you. I gotcha. No problem. Nathan's coming on too. So we have a couple, I think, that kind of go together. So we're going to start with this one. The person says that getting a personal visit or a phone call is extremely hard. Even if a benefactor has requested information or downloaded information off of a website, many still aren't anxious to talk to a fundraiser. So, how do you go about setting up visits with these donors who did raise their hand, but now they don't want to talk to you?
Karen, you want to?
All right, I'll give it a go. Okay, as Delinda mentioned earlier, we are persistent until somebody truly says no. We do a lot of follow-up. So what I typically do, I will start off, I pick up the phone. I try to reach them by phone. Now, recognizing a lot of people don't answer their phones anymore. I'll send the email. I left you a voicemail message. Here's who I am. I send my bio. My approach is pretty well. I try to be very low key, very warm in my engagement, and so hoping that disarms people. You know, that they have them recognize I'm a real person. I'm a normal person. I can, don't be afraid of me. But we keep doing those follow-ups quite frequently. If somebody typically in that email, I'll say, I understand if your preferred method of communication is email. If you can just share with me, if they're not responding, I can't get them on the phone. If you can share with me what you're looking for, just show me, here's some questions I have. If you'd provide that information, I can share with you better information back. So just kind of keep trying to engage. I do eventually get to the point where if I haven't heard from them, it's been a few weeks of trying to engage. If they had asked for information about, how do I make a gift to Mayo Clinic through my estate, I will eventually mail them something. with my business card, but then I'm following up again. Did you, I wanted to make sure that that mailing arrived. These aren't all wins, sometimes people really don't want to talk to us, but we have found by really continuing to try, you hopefully will have more success. So I think that addressed the question. Like, don't look for 100% contact, but just keep trying.
I would
Delinda,
also add, yeah, I would also add one thing in there is, from what I heard from the question is, you've sent them the information, you're trying to get to meet with them in person, and they're denying you and they don't want to do it. Simply ask them what their level of comfortability is, just what Karen said. How do you want to communicate? And I understand you don't want to meet in person, but sometimes these conversations are so much easier in person. And there's really, I'm not selling, but I'm not going to pressure you or provide you any. I just think sometimes having the conversation in person helps to clarify certain things. And so just asking them their level of comfort to why they're not interested in meeting. And you can do that in a way that doesn't make them feel like, well, how come you don't want to meet with me? Like what's that about? But really just kind of soften the question and get to their level of comfort.
So Greg asked, do you have a rule of thumb for how many times you're going to do this and reach out before you finally just give up?
Dylan, do you want to start?
Sure, I can start. No, until, like I said earlier in the presentation, until they absolutely just say, please stop bugging me. I mean, I will tell you my nickname from my family is Bug. Because those older sister that I mentioned earlier is because I would constantly continue to bug her. And so truly, I think if I'm respectful and you do it in a manner, I just keep putting, maybe it's, after I've done it for a few weeks, and then it's, now I've mailed something and now it's a couple months out. I have pending interactions that go out until a year from now that I want to make sure I reach out to that person. So I think until they absolutely just say no, or we're just, stalemate, no. 5 years down the road, I mean, I started in Mayo in 2020. There's a few that I've reached back out to, but not many after that. So
yeah, and I'll just kind of add to that. My general rule of thumb is, so when we get an inquiry, now recognizing like a mailed inquiry, think about how long mail takes sometimes in today's world. They might have sent that a couple, 10 days earlier or something. Who knows how long it took to get to us. So, sometimes we recognize when we've reached them or try to reach them by phone, they might be on vacation, other things have come up, but typically try to do an initial response. Sometimes if I don't get them, I try the next day, but a lot of times I wait a couple days, then it might be a week, then 2 weeks. And then maybe I'll schedule it out for a month. They do get a little bit more spaced out as time goes on. We have the benefit, if you will, of HIPAA allows us to see certain demographic information. So we can see the phone number that they provide if they're a patient. It's the phone number that Mayo's calling them on. I try to call them on that phone number because that tends to be one they answer. It shows up as, who the call is coming from. So they might think they're getting called on something else. But I do find, like all of us, I think we have phone numbers in our records that are no longer accurate. An old landline, an old cell number, old work number, whatever it may be. But I can confess that if there's 4 numbers in our database, I've probably tried them on all 4 numbers.
Okay, so this kind of goes along with what we've been talking about. And it's basically you've sent them something with a reply card that has several options to check off. So they check off, I would like to receive your estate planning kit. But there's the checkbox that says, I want to learn more information about including you in my estate plans. They don't check that. They just want the brochure, but they didn't check that. How would you handle that type of a prospect?
I would say, so we get those, they come to us and they want their personal estate planning kit. So I'll send it off, but again, I rely on those interactions. So I send off the kit, I send them the information, but then I start the process, right? For the building that relationship. I start what I may, deem as reaching out or trying the phone number or calling them. Did you get the information? How can I assist you with answering any questions that might be in that kit? Really, and then again, using us as a resource. Maybe they're just wanting the kit because they wanted a sample because they are in the same field. Or their daughter-in-law works for a nonprofit organization and they want to see what Mayo's is like. And so, but at least I'll have the answer at that point if you just continue to keep trying out. If they don't respond on any of those, based on the cultivation process, then, again, we move on. So Karen, do you want to add anything to that question?
No, I mean, I agree. I think there's some basic information when we send out anything, I mean, we have like a brochure that's basically like, here's what the Office of Gift Planning does. And on the back, it has our bequest language. So I think sometimes we're putting resources in front of people that may not be applicable, but it's pretty easy to, throw an additional resource into a mailing to them or in an email, another attachment. So they have it. It might trigger, a question or an area of interest. So I think it's fine to send additional information.
With that, we are almost out of time. So I did want to let everyone know that Karen and Delinda have offered their email addresses. They're on the screen right now. You can see them, and you will be getting access to the slides afterwards. So if you can't jot them down now, you'll get them later. And you can reach out to them with your personal questions. There were some that we didn't get to. So, and you can also reach out to myself or Nathan if you have questions about Stelter's products and services and what we offer. And you can visit us at stelter.com to learn more. And like I said, we are recording it. So if that works out, we will offer you the recording and also a PDF of the of the handouts. In addition, as Delinda mentioned, they presented this at CGP a couple years ago, and they have a paper that they wrote for that. And so we're also going to give you that paper as well if you're interested. So those 3 resources will be on our website with by the end of the week, and I'll send you an email with links to those. So with that, thank you so much for attending. We had over 200 people on the call with us today, so that's fantastic. And thank you, Delinda and Karen, for being here and sharing your expertise. And Nathan as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you guys so much. That was terrific. Very practical advice. A lot of good questions. I'm sure you'll get some email inquiries after this.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks
So
to
thank you so much.
Stelter.
Thanks so much for spending some time with us today, and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.